Hey everyone, welcome to the ZoobTube. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to make the Netflix production logo in Cinema 4D. Let's take a look at that one more time. Let's jump right into Adobe Illustrator here and create a new file in 1920 by 1080. That's fine. Hit OK. And let's set up some text over here. I'm going to go with my name, which is Zubair. Pick a little bit better font over here. Let's see, let's just go with something simple like Arial Black should be good. All right, next thing we're gonna do is warp it a little bit. See, we want to get that Netflix looking logo. If I can get this open. I don't know why that's not working. Anyway, we'll turn on preview and we'll go in here. We'll pick, let's see, pick arch. And we don't want that much. Let's do that. Let's see, maybe not that. Maybe you can find a better. All right, so you see how the Netflix logo is flat at the top and kind of curved at the bottom there. So let's see. Do something like that. And then we bend the other way. And that's probably close. What I'm gonna do is, now this is still editable, so you can go in there and you can change the font if you want to. I'm just gonna change it to just bold. I'm gonna go into character and just turn down the horizontal spacing a little bit closer. That's probably good. And that looks a little bit stretched out to me, so I'm just gonna narrow it a little bit. Let's see, is that working? Yeah, it's close enough. All right, so now we need to turn this, we need to make this editable. So we're gonna go into object and expand. Leave the object and fill checkboxes clicked, hit OK. Now this made this a path. Now we're going to save it as an Illustrator file that we can then import into Cinema 4D. So let's go save as, and let's find motion graphics, tutorials, Zubair, Netflix 1. Hit save, and then this is the important part. If you save in a version that is not Illustrator 8, it will have trouble importing into Cinema 4D. So you want to save it as Illustrator 8. It will give you some errors, just ignore it. Hit OK. Then let's go into Cinema 4D. We're gonna merge, and let's go to our motion graphics folder. Let's go to tutorials, netflix.ai. Hit open. Scale is fine. We'll hit OK, and then we're gonna hit O to go to the location. Now we want to bring this back to 0. So what we're gonna do is hit Shift C to bring up your little command window where you can type in buttons that you're looking for, tools that you're looking for. I'm just going to type in reset PSR. And what I'm going to do is actually bring it over here because I might need to use it more than once. Hit X over here. Shift. Oops. Okay. All right. So let's click on that. Hit reset PSR. It'll bring it back to origin. I'm just gonna tweak this just a little bit. I'm not too happy with the shape there. So let's see. That looks okay. That looks good. Okay, I'm just gonna scale this up a little bit, and I'm gonna turn off the grid over here. Okay, that's better. Okay, so there's our text. Next thing we need to do is extrude the text so it'll have some depth. We're gonna go up here, go to extrude, and then drop this whole null into this. Now you see nothing happened. There's one more step that we need to do, and that is checking this box over here that says hierarchical. And what that will do is apply that extrude effect to all the children of that null. So now we can edit all of these individually. Now, we are going to have to separate these out individually, but we'll get to that in a bit. So let's see. I'm gonna make these super long because we're gonna need it later. Let's put like 1200. That's probably good. I think there was a way to distribute the tags to the children, but I have no idea how to do it. If you know how to do it, leave a comment down below, please. I would really like to know. But right now, I'm just gonna, let's see, take this out. I'm gonna copy this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this over here. I'm gonna rename these pads to the letter that they actually represent. So I'm gonna go here, B A I R. Then what I'm gonna do is make the Z the child of that. And then what I'm going to do is add a background. So let's go over here, add a plane. Don't need that many segments. 2 is probably good. And then I'm going to have it go positive Z, and I'm going to push it back in space over here. Scale it up. Scale it up. All right, so that's what that looks like. I'm going to take this opportunity to make a camera, and we want it to be not a wide, yeah, pretty wide camera. You see how the perspective goes kind of inside. So let's go back to Cinema 4D. One more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the aspect ratio over here. I'm going to go down to 16:9 and change this to a lock ratio and change the height to 1080. And that makes it 1920 by 1080. That's what we want. Close that. Okay, now we got our camera. We're gonna turn it on. I'm just gonna frame this in a little bit better. Let's see. It looks okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a quick light just to get rid of that default light. Don't really like how that looks. I'm just gonna raise it up a little bit. Enough. Seems about right, and that'll give us a little bit better idea of shadow and everything. So let's leave that there, and let's move on. So okay, so we need to animate these things. One of the things that I actually did wrong, what I'm going to do is move these to the level of the background itself and maybe just a little bit behind it. And then what I'm going to do is go into extrude over here and change this from a positive number to a negative number. And what that'll do is pop it right out. And so you can see it kind of moves in and out with the value over here. So this is what we're going to be animating, this value right here. So let's get started. What I'm going to do is let's see. I'm going to copy. I'm going to take the Z out of the extrude. I'm going to copy it, Control C, and paste it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then drop the Z back into this one. I'm going to rename this real quick. That way I can keep track. We'll just go ahead and rename all of these. A I R. So let's move these down here. Oops, we don't want that to be child. That. B. In there, and then move this down. All right, so now that we've got that finally, let's work on our camera angle a little bit over here. This might be a little too wide, so what I'm going to do is let's go to a 50 mm. Let's see what that does. Ooh. Let's try an 80. That's a little bit better. Yeah, I think that's probably close to what we want. Let's try tele. See what that does. Yeah, that's probably where we want to be. Okay, so next, what we're going to do is add a little bit of fillet cap. So you can select all of the layers by clicking or dragging like this, or by clicking the first layer and then holding down shift and then clicking the last layer. But okay, so then we're going to go into the caps tab over here, and we really only need the starting caps, or I guess in this case maybe it's the end cap, I'm not sure. Let's see, did that do the front or back? You know what, let's go ahead and do both, fillet cap and fillet cap. What I'm going to do is change the Fong angle over here to 22. I like using 22 because it makes things a little bit more crisp. And you see how it's kind of catching the light a little bit better. That's what the caps are for. I think that A and I are probably too close together. So what I'm going to do is go into caps, and I'm going to hit constrain. That way it's not going wider than the original font. Okay, so next what we're going to do is let's put some materials on there. And what we're trying to do first is kind of get the look right. We'll light it and then we'll animate it. I know most people do it the other way around, but it just looks cool to render first, I think. So let's go in here, pick color. We want like a, not a bright white, maybe just a little bit off. And okay, we just want something flat, so apply it to our layers. Let's hit render, see what that does. Oops. Okay, now this is just a flat, simple render, but we can see kind of how our lighting is. That's not how we want it. We want those nice long shadows. It looks like sunlight or something, so that's kind of what we're going for. So let's keep working on this. Let's get rid of this light that we made before and go into the light options and select sunlight. Now this might not be the best way to do it. What I'm gonna do is select an infinite light, and we'll move this out a little bit and move it up and over, and we're just trying to get kind of a nice evening type look. And we want to be able to, right now if you click render, it'll just look like that and it's all horrible looking. With infinite light, you kind of have to point it in the right direction. So let's rotate this over here. Let's see. There's our ray line. Let's rotate that down, and that way. We kind of want that long shadow. Oh, I don't have shadows turned on. Let's go into the light, go into the shadow tab, and let's do hard for now. That way we can see what the light is doing, and we'll go back and tweak it a little bit later. So it's doing this this little number here, which is actually not far from what we want it to do. I seem to have gotten the angle right. So we just don't need it to go quite as far. So we're just gonna do that. Let's see what that does. It's still too far. Let's go back. Where's our light? Okay. Go up a little bit more. hit render. See what that does. That's getting close. Let's zoom out a little bit, because I think our composition's a little tight. Yeah, so let's zoom back out here. And that shadow looks about right. So what I'm going to do is change this from actually, let's do that later. Let's that might take a render hit. So let's animate this. I'm going to go back and select all of these, and what I'm going to do is go into the basic tab, nope, the object tab, and we're going to animate movement. So what I'm going to do is I am going to come up here to, let's say, 40 frames. Let's make that, let's do 50 frames. I'm just going to increase this timeline a little bit over here. Let's go to like 300 frames. That should be plenty. I'm going to go to 40. I'm going to say, I'm going to hit that button to set a keyframe for the movement. And then I'm going to move back here to like 7, let's say. And we can change that later. But right now, let's just really quickly animate this. And what we can do is just type, let's see, 0, and it'll go away. And then we're going to hit that yellow button over there to set the keyframe over there. So now you see it animating up, and that's probably a little too fast. So let's drag this keyframe and then just play it back. Yeah, it's probably too slow now. Let's move this back to like 60 and see, hit play. That's probably still a little bit slow. So let's go over here. Let's go back, hit play. Okay, that's still a little bit slow. We're gonna be tweaking this a little bit later, and we're gonna be staggering it. So what we're gonna do is hit play. That looks fine. What we're gonna do next is go into our timeline and stagger these layers a little bit so they come after one another. But before we do that, I am going to animate. Now, we animated it coming in. We have to animate it going out. So I'm going to come over here. Let's say we leave it on screen for about, I don't know, a few frames over here. Let's come over here, go back to selecting all our layers. Click this button over here to set a keyframe. Move a few frames over, and the second part of the animation, when it leaves the screen, it goes a little bit faster. So I'm just going to go up here and say 0, and then hit that keyframe. And now if we play it back, this is what it looks like. So it comes up and then goes back down. So that's kind of the basic animation, but in the actual one, it they come in one after another. So that's what we're going to do next. Let's go into window over here. Let's go into timeline, and let's open up our timeline. Let's select all of these layers over here, and all right, so we want Z to come in first and all the other letters to come in later. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select U and move it Let's see, that's probably good. Do the same with the rest. And I'm just kind of eyeballing over here, but you know, you can zoom in and do it a little bit better if you want to, or you can play around with the timing a little bit more to make it more interesting. But let's play this back and see what it looks like. I think I did it right. Oops. Okay. It kind of worked. Yeah. Okay. So they all come in one after another, and then they all go out one after another. That's kind of what we want. Let's look at the original one over here real quick. I'm going to minimize. Wow. I'm going to minimize this guy. Let's open this. Let's get back. I'll come in, and when they go out a little bit kind of together. So let's go back here. Now, these are all staggered. When they're coming in, they come in, and then they're all supposed to go out at the same time. But over here, if you look at it, they are not doing that. So let's get in here and let's see if we can't fix that. So I'm just going to take this last one, and what I'm going to do is select these and just line them up. So you know what? That's probably not as interesting. So let's just see what it looks like. Let's see what that looks like. And last one. Okay, let's hit play. See what that does. Coming in, going out at the same time. Coming in, going out at the same time. All right, so that's kind of the basic animation, and you know, I'm not really an animator, so you know, I'm sure you can do a lot more fancy stuff, and the original one probably had a lot more fancy kind of overshoot animations or things like that, and we could do some of that, but you know, I'm just trying to show you kind of the basics of how to do this, and let you go from there. So let's close out of this, and since our animation's pretty much done, I'm going to speed this up. I see it's going to be a lot harder for me to speed this up because I have them all kind of staggered now. But let me just try something. Oh, cool. Okay, I'm just going to move these a little bit closer. Let's play that back. Bloop. Okay, come on. Comes in, goes out. Comes in, goes out. Okay, that looks fine. Maybe that's a little bit too long, so I'm going to bring that in. Let's see. Okay, that looks right. Let's work on our lighting a little bit over here. So if we hit, let's come back to somewhere we can actually see the letters. Hit render over here, and we get this weird jittery mess. So let's go into our shadows over here. and we're gonna pick area, and we're just gonna turn down the density a little bit, and then let's try that. Okay, that looks, we're getting there. The shadows look a lot better. Let's try a couple more things. I'm gonna change from standard to physical. I am also going to add global illumination because it's gonna help fill in a lot of those shadows over there with a little bit more balanced light. So we're just gonna go over here. We're gonna go exterior sky. Let's see what that does. Looks good. Looks good. We're getting there. The quality is a little bit shoddy, but we can fix that. Let's try physical sky. Let's see what that. Isn't that what? That's wow. That's what we just tried. Let's try HDR image. Let's see what that does. Okay, let's get in close. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the settings over here a little bit to get maybe a little bit warmer light. So let's go into our light. Let's go into general, go into color, and just find some nice kind of warm orangey golden hour type tones. Let's try this. Let's see what that. Ooh, no. Want closer to white. Let's see. It's a little bit brown for my taste. I'm going to go back to that. Okay, that's not bad. It's not what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go back into our material and change it from that off-white. I'm going to go to just straight up white, and let's see what that does for us. Okay, that's a little bit closer to what I'm looking for, but not quite there yet. Let's go back to our Netflix animation for a second, and let's see what they're doing there. Okay, so one, there is a nice vignette going. You can see that from this blank white screen over here. There's also kind of shadow overlapping some stuff, and then you can see these kind of white parts over here on the inside, and that's the type of quality that we're just not getting in our image yet. So what I am going to do over here is add a sky object, and what our sky object is going to do is just add kind of we're just going to add a little bit of a bluish color to our sky. That way our shadows are filled in with a little bit of blue, and that can go a long way. So let me drop that. Let's name that real quick. Let's call it sky. Let's call this main white or something like that. And let's hit render and see what that does. Okay, now it's a little bit closer to what we want, but it's super blown out. So let's go into our, let's see, want to go into our light and turn down the intensity just a little bit. 85, let's see what that does. That's still super bright. Let's go down to like 50, let's go down all the way. Let's see what that does. And this is kind of just about playing around and seeing what numbers work for you. The same numbers might not work for everybody. You know what I just realized over here? My letters might be sticking out a little too much because I'm getting some crazy shadows on this. So instead of going back and trying to reanimate everything, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this object over here. I'm going to move it back in Z space. And what this is going to do is just give the illusion that the depth is lower, but the animation are the same. It's just a little bit shorter now. And let's see what that looks like actually. That's what that looks like in this view, and let's see it over here. Coming in, going out. Okay, good. Let's do a quick render of that. Let's see how the lighting's looking over here. Wow, still very blown out. So let's go into our sky object over here and turn down the brightness of our sky, because that's just crazy. Let's turn up the intensity of our light again, because I don't know, makes it look super muddy if we don't. Okay, that's actually looking a lot better. But now my shadow is a little too short. So what I'm going to do is go back into my light, select the rotate tool over here, and do this little bitty over here. Let's render that. Let's see what that looks like. That looks beautiful. They're all coming in one by one. That looks pretty nice. Let's see, what else can we do over here? We can definitely take this into After Effects and add a nice vignette to get that look. But what I did was I added one last layer of the red from the Netflix logo at the end. But I will, you know what, let's just go ahead and do it. There's also a subtle camera move over here that you can't really see while it's animating. So we'll also take care of that. So let's play that once again. Okay, so it's kind of zooming out the whole time, because you see that Netflix logo getting smaller and smaller. So let's go back into Cinema 4D. Let's go up here. You know what? I'm actually going to move this back in a little bit, because I don't like how low it is. Okay, that's probably a little bit better. Yeah, I like that. But now that shadow screwed up again. Yeah, let's go back. I want to be able to fill in these kind of darker shadows, because if we look at the original Netflix footage back here, see how there's no really any dark parts, and we can kind of fake that. Let's try and do that. Let's go into our main white material over here. Let's go into luminance. That's way too bright. Let's back that down to like 15% and see what that does. I'm sorry if this, it's already been like 38 minutes since this is going on, but we are covering a lot of stuff over here that will help you figure out how to make a Netflix style logo for yourself. So let's see what that did. That looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and brighten it up just a hair. Go in here, maybe go to 20, 19 or 20. I'm also gonna go and change that color a little bit to like a cooler, maybe blue. Maybe that'll help a little bit. So let's hit render. Okay, that's it's looking a lot better. Okay, let's move on to what we need to do next. I'm just gonna copy this real quick. No, I'm not gonna copy it. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is make that red Netflix part at the end and give it that camera move. So let's do the camera move first, because that's probably the easiest. I'm just gonna zoom out a little bit over here, and let's see. Let's go to our camera. Let's go to coordinates. Yep, and then we want to animate in the Z direction. But now we have kind of an angle over here, so what I'm actually going to do is, let's zero this out, see what that does. That's good. Let's see what zeroing out Z does. Nope, we don't want that. We don't want any rotation. Let's just kind of frame the camera a little bit better. Okay, let's hit render, see, make sure everything still looks good, and it does. So let's move on. Let's go. Want this maybe to be our starting point, and you can see this number is moving. So let's hit. Let's see. Let's go back in the timeline a little bit. When it kind of starts to come in is where we want, maybe a little bit before that is where we want it to start animating. So let's go to like frame 10, hit P, Z over there on that red button. Go up until it's almost gone away, and then some. Let's go till like frame 100 over here, and then let's move this up. Let's actually not do that. I'm just gonna undo a couple of times over here. Let's go back to frame 10. Hit a keyframe over here. Let's go back to the middle here where we can actually see all the letters, and then change this value. That way we can kind of frame it a little bit better. So let's go till that's probably good, and then hit another keyframe. But now this just stops over here. That's not what we want. So I'm just going to move this down, and that'll make sure, let's move this down to 100. That'll make sure that I have it kind of, framed the right way and everything, and it's still animating that way. I'm not animating a blank screen like I was trying to before. So let's hit render real quick over here and make sure we're still good where we are. And okay, so let's set up our red logo over here. I'm sorry if there's a weird whirring sound. My AC just kicked on, so I apologize. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and paste it. And this is not the original way I did it in my tutorial, but this is just as easy. I'm going to copy our main material. I'm going to rename it to main red. And let's go into color. Let's turn off luminance for a second. Let's go into color, and we want to find that kind of Netflixy maroony type colors. So it's good. That's probably good. And we could use an eyedropper and all that stuff, but who cares? In fact, I'm gonna go and pick something completely different, like this blue over here. That looks good. All right, I am going to put that on. I'm going to replace this material, and what we don't need from all of this stuff is the keyframes, and we should just be able to get rid of those. Let's go into timeline. Select, whoops, we don't want to select all of that stuff. We want to select these ones, which I believe, Or these, I think. Either way, I mean, I don't think it matters which ones you delete. Hit delete on that. Okay, I think I deleted the wrong ones. So I think it's these bottom ones. Let's delete that. Now it's doing something. Okay, so I think we're yeah, we did something weird there. Let's go back to our timeline. It is all coming in. Up here, everything's out. Let's take these, hit delete, and I think that's it. So let's go back into, let's close that. Let's go back into our, let's rename this blue. That doesn't make sense. Let's just change that to blue over here. And let's see. What I'm going to do is get rid of the caps on here. So let's go into object. Wow. Reset all. Reset to default. Is that what we want? Did I just screw everything up? Okay, I don't think so. There's still something animating, and I'm not sure which one it is. So I'm just going to turn this off for a second and see which one is still animating. Okay, so we got the wrong one animating, and we definitely deleted the keyframes on the wrong one. So I'm just going to undo this a few times, as I'm pretty sure I screwed up royally over here. And that's probably the reason I didn't do it this way the first time. In fact, I think, you know what? Let's do this. I'm gonna take all of these out individually. I know this is probably not the best way to do it, and I'm just making this video long, and what I can do is just probably forward through this part. Take all this stuff and delete it. Actually, let's leave. Yeah, you know what? We don't need them. Let's delete it. Let's go over here. Let's go to over here, extrude NURBS. Drop this all in. Go back, click hierarchical, and let's see. Don't really see where it is, but let's see. I'm gonna turn this one off for a second. And let's see. Let's find this puppy over here. There you are. Okay. Zoom in, and I want to get it as close to that back thing as possible. So I'm just going to move this back a little bit in Z space until we see it. So it's not completely hidden, but it's also, we don't want it to cast any shadows. Let's just do that and then move this back a little bit further just when it starts showing up. Let's hit render and see if it's, yeah, that's casting a shadow. I don't want it to cast a shadow. What we can do is let's go into our compositing tag over here, and let's turn off receive shadows, and let's see if that helps. Nope, that did not help. Oh, we want to turn off cast shadows because we don't want it to cast shadows. Okay, that's better. All right, that's definitely what we want. So now we don't want this to show up until our animation is done. So let's go back and turn this on. Let's look at our, oh boy. I screwed that up royally, didn't I? Okay, I'm gonna have to fix the timeline over here. Okay, so we got this animating. I'm gonna replace this with white. This is not animating, so what we're gonna do is take this, put blue on here, and then move this back in space right here. So we don't really want it to animate or do anything really. Okay. Let's go back here. It goes down. I'm not sure what's going on over here. I'm very confused. Okay, so that kind of actually looks like we want it to. What we're gonna do, just to make sure that it's not, you see how this is kind of peeking through, we don't want it to peek through at the beginning. So what I'm gonna do is just animate the blue one just at the end, right after everything has gone back. So it looks like that is right about here. So right here is when we will set the keyframe for the blue one. Let's go into coordinates. Let's hit Z right here. Let's move back one frame, and let's move that out of the frame for that, and then hit the button again to set a keyframe. And what that does is just pushes it, you know, the frame right after all the letters have gone into the background. So let's so let's play that and see what that does. Whoops. I had to play it, not render. Okay, that flickery thing is not making me happy. But I can live with it. Let us try and let's try and render this out and see what result that gives us. Can't believe I haven't saved this yet. Let's go ahead and save this. Zubair Netflix animation, something like that. That should work okay. Let's go into render settings. Let's go to output and select all frames. It's 300 frames. It's probably too long. Let's just go down to like, I don't know, like 200 frames. I think that should be enough. Yeah, 200 frames is more than enough. Okay, then what we're gonna do is go to save. Click on that button right there. Oops. Let's go to motion graphics, tutorials, and new folder, TIFF sequence, and we're gonna save this as a TIFF sequence and then import it into either After Effects or Premiere and make it an actual file. Now what we can do is also add motion blur over here, but we could also do that in After Effects. Now it's a little bit harder, and there's a few steps involved. So what actually I'm going to try to do is just do motion blur over here, and maybe that works. So I've never actually tried it. I'm going to name this file thezoob Netflix SEQ. and then hit save. Let's go through these settings just a little bit. Let's go into physical. We don't need depth of field. Let's do motion blur. And we'll just leave the default settings and see what that does. But what I am going to do is I'm going to change this from 1920 by 1080 to something way smaller because I just want to preview this real quick. So I'm just going to go down to like 360, and that'll give us a quick render of how everything is animating. And I might even turn off stuff like global illumination to get just a little bit better render time. But let's try and render this and see how long each frame takes. I'm just going to go here and check my frame rate, which is 30 frames per second. Looks good. And let's hit render. Okay, I just want to jump in for a second and point out that my CPU is chugging out those renders. Look at these render times for each frame, 2 seconds, and that's with global illumination on. That's pretty cool. Okay, I'm just gonna I realized something, and I'm just going to stop this animation over here. But I don't want motion blur because it's making these shadows look like crap. And I don't think the original one had motion blur anyway. So I'm just going to render this without any motion blur. And it'll actually make it a lot faster. So let's see what that does. Let's go back into physical and disable motion blur. And I'm actually going to let's see. Let's see what light mapping does. I hear it's supposed to be better. Let's do a test render over here and see what that does. Wow, that takes very long to render, doesn't it? Yeah. Let's try QMC, because I think that's the one that's meant to be for animation. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Let's hit render. And do you want to overwrite? Yes, I do. And we're just gonna let that chug along and see how long it takes. So I'll be back. Okay, it's rendering along over here, and I just realized that these last few frames are pretty much exactly the same. There might be a slight camera move, but we can fake that in After Effects. So I'm just going to stop rendering right there. Hit yes. And let's play it back. Oop. Looks pretty good to me. That actually turned out perfect. So let's take it to the next step. let's open up After Effects. And what I'm going to do is actually open up a... Okay, let's go into After Effects and open up a new project. Oh, this is annoying. Okay, open up a new project, Untitled Project. I'm not going to save it over here. I'm just going to double click to import in the project box over here. I'm going to go find the folder that we saved our TIFF sequence in. And I'm just going to make sure they're all there. I'm going to hit the first one, import as footage, sequence options, TIFF sequence, and hit import. And now you've got a TIFF sequence file over here, 30 frames per second, and we can just drop that into a new comp. And I'm going to go up to 100% since it's just a basically 360p is what it is. So let's do a RAM preview, which is basically the same thing that we saw in Cinema 4D. And so what we're going to do over here is we're just going to add a slight vignette to get that nice look. And there's actually a very nice plugin that I just found called Motion V2 that lets you do a very quick vignette. So this is actually sold on the guy's website. I think Mount MoGraph is the one that sells it. But I just got this today, and you know, this was one of the tools that was in there. And instead of going and fumbling around with a new layer and everything, you can just go over here and do a quick vignette. So that's what I'm going to do. And you can do this by yourself, and there's, I'm sure, a million vignette tutorials out there. But since this is just a quick tutorial for how to do Netflix style, I'm not gonna bother with that. So I'm gonna go to the effects controls over here. I want the intensity up just a little bit so that I can get that nice kind of gray edges. We're gonna go into the feather slider, kind of play around with that, see what that does. Okay. And I think that looks pretty good, except for that little part over there. Let's turn down the intensity just a little bit. Now the mode over here says classic color burn. I'm going to change that to multiply because I just don't like the way that burn looks. Now we can change it just a little bit over here. Let's tweak it to get it where we want it. Let's see. That looks pretty good. I'm just going to do a RAM preview over here real quick. Well, that looks pretty good to me. Thank you for watching the tutorial. I am so sorry that it ran so long. This is my, well, it's not my first tutorial, but I haven't done one in a long time. So I apologize if I was saying ums a lot or just rambling. Please forgive me. I will try to edit this a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to get around to doing a lot of processing. So I hope you learned something. Leave a comment down below if you have any more questions, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Please subscribe if you want to watch more videos like this. Hit that like button if you like this tutorial, and I guess we'll see you next time.